Broken away. So that's something else I've got to buy before Ride London. What's up everybody? Welcome to the very first What's Up Cycling vlog. A journal of everything bike and cycling by me, an average Joe that doesn't have a cycling physique, bottomless pit of money to spend on all bike loveliness, just an average income, slightly overweight, middle-aged guy, very passionate about cycling, which I would imagine a lot of you out there can relate to. Decided to start this vlog because, quite frankly, I love talking about bikes and cycling, and there's only so many times I can tell my family the same stories. No one wants to listen to me anymore, so I figured there's a few of you out there that might want to hear about these sort of things. What better place to start than the Prudential Ride London 100. It's a ride that's possibly on most cyclists' bucket list, certainly those that live in this country. Sorry about the cat noises you can hear in the background. He's about to fight the dog, I think. I might have to intervene. Yeah, brilliant, iconic ride, takes in some real sort of legendary hills in this country, and it's a chance to ride through the city, closed roads, with 26,000 other people, which, you know, that opportunity doesn't come around that often. So really exciting one and a good place to start. Before I do, however, I have a confession to make. This was going to be an all-in comprehensive guide to Ride London, including registering, signing on, and everything that goes into being part of the event, competing in the event itself, and what happens before and after. But I had technical issues. The GoPro recorded next to nothing, so I've got a few videos of me training, some little bits in the hotel, and precious little of the event itself, which was so frustrating and really disappointing. But I met a super cool guy halfway up Box Hill called Gab. Hello Gab. You'll have seen him in the intro. He provided me with most of the footage, and thank you very much to him. He's a cool guy, and that was some really useful GoPro footage that he's managed to give me, so that I can still at least put something together for you. And let's get started. Well, the first thing is registering. I registered online, entered the ballot, which is exactly that. It's complete potluck. Apparently, I'm pretty sure there's no system or preferential treatment for it. I'd imagine there's some conspiracy theorists out there that would like to differ with that opinion, but potluck, put your name in, pay the price. If you don't get in, you can then, I believe you opt to either leave your entrance fee there to contribute towards a charity, or you get it refunded. So it's certainly not a scam, but hundreds of thousands of people enter each year, and they have to whittle it down some way. So as far as I'm aware, it's draw names out of a hat effectively, and I didn't get in, which wasn't a major problem, because prior to finding out the results of the ballot, I'd kind of decided I was going to look to do it for a charity anyway. My eldest son, Josh, who some of you will know, has had type 1 diabetes since the age of 2, and the charity that I rode for is JDRF, which is the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and they do incredible work in their quest to find a cure for type 1 diabetes. So it's a no-brainer. Prior to finding out whether I was in or out of the race, I'd got in touch with them anyway and put my name into the hat, and was delighted that they came back to me and sort of said, yeah, you know, we'd like you as part of the team. So the next thing that happened, if I'm just reaching for this, is everybody then got a letter or a magazine through the post from the organisers of Ride London. Most or 20-something thousand people would have said congratulations there, where mine says commiserations. Obviously that's confirmation that I didn't make it into the ballot. The purpose of this magazine, really, for the people that didn't get in, is to highlight some of the charities that you can ride for. There's some really good causes in there that raise millions each time this event is on. Like I say, I'd already kind of decided I wanted to do it for JDRF anyway, so that was pretty cool. So I wasn't too fussed about that. So I then get the fundraiser pack through from JDRF, set up a Just Giving page, and got cracking. And it was, I had no hesitation in my mind that my friends and family and loved ones were going to support me in coming up with the amount needed to secure my place on the ride. And I think we did. Sort of 75% of the requirement was done within a couple of weeks. So thank you so much to everybody that donated. I was really touched by it, and obviously it meant that I could fulfil a sort of a bit of a dream of mine, which is to compete in this major cycling event. So thank you very much again. The JDRF actually were fantastic all the way through it. They sent me constant email updates about important information about sort of registering and where you go and where to meet afterwards and things like that. So they were fantastic, and I did get to meet the girls from JDRF at the end. We had a little picnic, which was really nice, and super cool girls, and put on organised it really well. It couldn't have been easy. They had, I think they had 150 people riding for them in the end, something like that. I'll have to check back on my records, but they certainly had a lot of people, and they raised a heck of a lot of money. So well done, guys. That's brilliant. So I was confirmed by JDRF. I'm in the ride. So the next thing was to get some serious training in. Luckily, I live reasonably central to a lot of the areas that we're going to be taken in on the ride. So particularly the key hills like Leith Hill and Box Hill. So I'd ridden Box Hill quite a few times before. That's not a major problem. It's not overly difficult, but it was really useful being able to use it as part of the training. So I got out, managed to put in some decent miles, increasing the distance gradually, trying to learn a little bit more about the sort of sustenance and fueling myself over those kind of distances. But the main training tool I had was Zwift. Now I want to clarify straight away, I'm not sponsored by or supported or endorsed by Zwift in any way. I'm just a huge fan of it because it transformed my cycling life. As soon as the weather turns, I'm not one to adhere to the rule 5 as much as I probably should have. So as soon as the weather turns, I'd rather be indoors curled up on the sofa, if I'm honest. But Zwift enabled me to continue training in a fun, competitive kind of way. They've even got the Ride London course on Zwift now, so you can actually train on virtual versions of the roads we're actually going to be riding. That was brilliant. So I put in a lot of miles on Zwift, sweat out gallons and gallons of sweat, which is lovely. So that was really good, and training was going pretty well until a couple of weeks before the ride itself, when I got a really nasty chest infection, and one of my lungs wasn't working properly, basically. I had pneumonia a few years back, and it just seems that if anybody within a 100-mile radius of me gets a cold, I get a chest infection straight away, and I'm pretty much laid up for a period of time. So I ended up in hospital and steroids and antibiotics and all the rest of it to try and repair the damage. It didn't get as bad as pneumonia, luckily, but I was feeling pretty grotty, and the main problem was obviously the ride was fast approaching. But the treatment started working, started feeling stronger in the week leading up to the ride. and I kind of just thought, you know what, there's so many people have backed me. I've put quite a bit into it in terms of my own commitment. So at least if I start, if I can't finish, I was going to be sensible about it. If I started riding and felt I could aggravate a real problem here, then I'll stop. But at least I will start. The biggest problem is obviously not being able to do any training for a couple of weeks leading up to it. So the most I did was, I think 2 days before, I managed to do about 10 kilometres on Zwift around the London course. It was the slowest 10 kilometres I've done for a long time, but really just to loosen up the legs. And I didn't feel horrendous at the end of it. You know, my breathing was slightly laboured, but not as bad as I was expecting. So again, that just sort of cemented my opinion of turn up, start the ride, see how we go. If it takes me double the amount of time I'm expecting to take, then so be it, as long as I survive to tell the tale, or pull out halfway through if that's what was needed. But luckily none of that was needed, and I managed to complete the distance. But certainly wasn't the best preparation that you can have for something like that. So training done, the next thing to do is you actually have to register. Now the team of Ride London put on a kind of bike show or a cycling show, and this, I don't know if it's always there, but this year it was at the Excel in London. So me and 2 of my kids, Lucas and Millie, jumped on a train, popped up to Excel to register, and it's actually quite cool. You get your race number, which I've got here. You get your race number for your bike and your helmet, and for this bag, the purpose of this bag was that they have trucks designated to your starting zone, and if you have belongings that you need to be kept and picked up, you can pick up at the end of the ride, you put them in this bag with your race number on it, chuck it in the relevant truck, and sure enough it'll be waiting for you at the end. And that went like clockwork. Really well organised, brilliant, considering the number of people that are there. So anyway, we went up there, got the bag, got my race number, got some other bits and pieces, got another magazine which just kind of showed the starting zones and start times and more route maps and things like that. But the show itself was quite good. They had Evan Cycles had a big presence there, with effectively a large shop, but they were doing good discounts on pretty much everything, and they had exclusive Ride London kits there, the jerseys and shorts and all the rest of it, but a good selection of their usual stuff as well. I was a bit frustrated because I'd just bought my Castelli, I can't remember what model they are, the Castelli bib shorts, about 2 days before from Evan Cycles, and they had them there about 20 quid cheaper, so that was a little bit irritating. I did buy this cap, however, which my wife hates, by the way, but I'm going to keep wearing it because I know I haven't got the right shape head for cycling caps, but I've got a bit of a collection going. I really like them just as things. So I'm going to persevere, so I hope I don't offend anybody by wearing this and looking a bit of an idiot, but I like it. Very nearly bought some Physique R for the shoes in there, but they didn't have my size, which was kind of lucky because I probably would have faced a divorce had I come home with a pair of shoes. They had a few competitions, a show going on with sort of champion BMX stunt riders and mountain bike riders. There was a free runner there who had been on X Factor doing backflips and whatever. None of that's really my cup of tea, but it was quite entertaining. The kids enjoyed it. There was a big board as well, which was really nice. Oh, sorry, I don't know what that is. Alarm going off. Big board, which was nice, where everyone had been writing who they were riding for, and there were some really nice, touching sort of good luck messages and things. So that was nice. So I wrote on there, and the kids wrote a message on there for me, which was really sweet. And that was it. So a day out in London, we were all registered, signed on, got all the bits and pieces, and that was it. We were officially in the ride. So just hopped on the train back home. So the next stage was getting there on the day. I'd actually booked a hotel for 2 days, for the one for the day before and one for the day off the ride, so that I could leave all my stuff in the hotel while we're riding. Obviously after the ride, come back, have a nice shower and a decent bed, and then head off home in the morning. It would have worked out alright, but for the fact the hotel, the closest one I could get was about a 45-minute ride from the train station. Mainly because obviously you can't take bikes on the tube, so I got a train to London Bridge and then cycled it from there. not a terrible road. It's actually a terrible road. It's quite nice. I don't ride in London ever, so I was a little bit apprehensive, but found it okay. Other than my bag weighed a ton, and was sort of like a big sort of pendulum on my back, which is a bit uncomfortable. So I thought I had it here. So that was a bit of a pain, having to ride that far to the train station, but not as much of a pain as having to ride back after Ride London. Obviously the ride starts in the Olympic Park and finishes on the Mall, and a lot of the roads around it are closed off. So obviously after the ride I had to somehow get back to my hotel, which was now even further away than it was from the start, plus loads of closed roads. So what I'd anticipated to be about a half-hour ride turned into about an hour and a half ride, after having obviously already put 100 miles in my legs. So I didn't enjoy that at all. But the hotel was alright, but it was a great little place. I can't remember what it was called now, like a travel lodge type place. Crikey, I really can't remember. But it was okay. The room was small but clean and tidy, and that was okay. I got a decent sleep. And obviously the next stage was up at the crack of dawn. I think I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to leave the hotel to ride to the start line. That was actually really nice. Obviously the roads weren't closed in the area that I was at, but they may as well be. It was like a scene out of 28 Days Later. It was really quiet. The sun was just starting to come up. There were a few other guys and girls that had obviously stayed in the same hotel or nearby hotels to me, so I didn't have any trouble finding my way to the start line. I just sort of tagged on their coattails and rode it in from there, and that was really nice. And then when you get to the start pens, it's amazing. There's it's like a web of different start pens all converging on one point, and there were 26,000 people all sort of farmed, sort of herded into these channels. So they start the race by saying this particular gate go, and they all sort of move forward onto the start line, and then once they're gone the next one will come in, and they all sort of funnel through. And it was considering the amount of people, the organisation was absolutely incredible. It's a bit of a wait at the beginning, obviously depending on which loading zone you're in, but it wasn't too bad because you're surrounded by other cyclists and just drop dead gorgeous bikes everywhere, so there's plenty to look at and talk about. So that was cool. So anyway, when we sort of moved up to the front, it was our turn to go, and there was a bit of a carnival atmosphere. There's a DJ playing tunes, and before each wave went off, he would sort of shout out to the crowd, what song do you want to be played off to? Do you want to start your ride to? And I shouted out, "I Got the Power" by Snap, and luckily that was the one they chose. I obviously thought that was a decent suggestion, which I was pleased by. So we went off to a booming dance tune, which sort of gets your legs spinning, and then suddenly it's very surreal, because from the hustle and bustle of tens of thousands of people, you're suddenly in the middle of the city, wide open, quiet roads, no one around, not a car, very peaceful, surreal but fantastic. Because I enjoy my own company at the best of times, and this was just gorgeous, sweeping through the city in total sort of peace and quiet. It was absolutely amazing. It got busier obviously as the ride went on, because it was getting later, so more people were coming out, and we started getting some decent crowds standing at the side of the road. So by the time we'd started hitting Kingston and Richmond Park and places like that, it was getting busier, but obviously still no cars, which is fantastic. So that was basically it. You head out of the city, like I say, through Kingston and Richmond Park, off towards Surrey, all very nice, flat and smooth. But already the signs of my lack of preparation in those final couple of weeks were starting to show, and I think I was probably only maybe 30 miles into the ride when I got cramp quite seriously in both my legs, which was a bit of a worry, because I hadn't hit any of the big hills, I hadn't really exerted myself. Obviously it was, like I say, it was just down to not having done any riding for too long. So we come out of Richmond Park, head off into the hills, and the first big test is Newlands Corner. It's not a massive hill, not horrendous, and amazingly I didn't fully cramp up on that. I thought I was going to, but I managed to find an easy gear and just spin it up and keep moving, and got to the top of that, and there was a feed station there, which was nice, so I managed to just sort of rub the legs down a little bit, take on some sustenance, Feed stations are fantastic. They have everything you could possibly want. The array of different energy drinks and foods for sort of quick fixes, for sort of long, slow burning energy. Really good. The medical staff are amazing. I'm pretty sure they catered for pretty much every eventuality. They're really, really well done. Can't congratulate them enough on that. That was brilliant. So I managed to freshen myself up a little bit at the top of Newlands Corner with some, I think I had some saurine malt loaf and a couple of drinks. And then we head off down some nice sweeping hills, and then you hit the big one, which certainly was the big one of the day, which was Leith Hill in Dorking, or near Dorking. That's a bit of a bitch. It's pretty. It pitches up really steep in some places. The surface is really rough. It's narrow. You've got lots of people trying to squeeze up it, and it goes on for a while. And I'm embarrassed to say I only got about halfway up that before both my legs just seized up completely with cramp, and I'm surprised I didn't just topple off the bike. I somehow managed to unclip and sort of put a foot down and swing my leg over to get off the bike before I made a real fool of myself. But yeah, that was nasty. That hurt. Both my legs just seized up. Muscles went rock solid, and that took a fair bit of manipulation to sort of ease them off again. So when I did, sort of got back on the bike, and I reckon it was probably 50 metres before, boom, just went again. So I had no choice but to sadly walk the rest of the way up to the top of Leith Hill, which nowhere near as hard as cycling it, but don't get me wrong, that was still a chore with cramp in both legs and walking in cleats with your feet all funny angles up a pretty steep hill. That was no picnic either. But made it to the top, sat down for a little bit, massaged the legs, tried to stretch them out as much as I could, take on as much sort of electrolyte drink as I could, just try and get some life back into them. Which I did, and luckily the next part of the ride is predominantly downhill and you know, sort of reasonably flat, easy going. So I managed to remount, and on we go to the next hill, and probably the final, what they consider to be the final sort of big test, if you look at the route profile, which was Box Hill. And as I mentioned earlier, I ride Box Hill quite often. The road surface is impeccable. It's so smooth. It's not the steepest anyway, you know, it goes up for a while, but the average is only, I think, sort of 5 or 6%, so it's not the worst hill. It's just a very well known hill, and that actually was quite pleasant. I just sort of put it in an easy gear and was spinning. I you know, certainly wasn't breaking any records going up there, but just managed to sort of spin my way up, and it was about halfway up there that I met Gab, who I mentioned earlier, who's the guy responsible for a lot of the footage you'll be seeing. He was really helpful on other levels as well. He'd clearly done it a few times before, really knew his stuff, and had a fair bit of experience on the bikes. He came equipped with all the things that I probably should have brought with me, sort of painkillers and anti-inflammatories, and just had some really good advice on how to sort of keep my legs moving, and how to sort of best avoid bonking altogether. So that was really nice to meet him. He's a great guy, and we sort of got separated a couple of times, but I pretty much rode the rest of the ride with him, which was fantastic. Really good motivation, and really nice to have someone like him to sort of chat away with all the way to the finish. So that was excellent, and I'll certainly be keeping in touch with him, and hopefully, Gab, if you're watching, we'll get another ride in soon. So Box Hill, up to the top, another feed station. Didn't stay there for very long, just a quick rub down on the legs, took in a little bit more fluid. And then away we go back towards the finish line, and that was fantastic. As tired as you are, as soon as you see the mall and the crowds that have accumulated there, the red tarmac, that's enough to really get your blood pumping, and regardless of cramp or anything that's gone on before it, I was really energised for that little bit. And it was really nice. Sort of Gab and I sort of hit the mouth together, and sort of pre-discussed that we were maybe going to try and have a sort of mini sprint to the line, but didn't quite work out that way. I don't think either of us had sprinting legs left in us. We sort of upped it a little bit and sort of tried to push each other a little bit to the line, but there certainly wasn't any proper racing going on there, or any real serious watts being generated. but the sensation is fantastic. You feel like you're part of a pro race coming down there with the stands either side of you, and you hit the finish line, and it takes everything in you not to give it the old Chris Froome 2 arms across the line. But just as well I didn't, because again, on advice from Gab, there was a little speed hump just beyond the finish line. So I'm pretty sure if I'd come over the line with my arms up in the air and hit that hump, I would have been on my backside in no time. So I finished the ride feeling pretty elated, and then you just sort of cruise through, follow signage to cruise through, and you get presented with your medal, which I have here. Really nice medal, big weighty thing, with a course map on it, and a few sort of key landmarks from the ride on the other side, which is really nice, and that's one I will definitely treasure for a long time. And then it was off to meet the JDRF crew for a very well anticipated picnic and a drink. It's very well organised. You take your bike into these marquees, and they give you a wristband with a number on it and a sticker for your bike with a matching number, so you can leave your bike in there safely. And the only way you're going to get it out is if you show the guy that you've got the matching wristband with the bike number. Because it would have been very tempting to go in with my bike and come out with a nice Bianchi or a Cervelo or an S-Works or something, but no, you come out with what you took in. But the JDRF crew, as I mentioned before, they're brilliant. Their organisation was fantastic. They put on a really nice spread, really nice team, really friendly, and seemed sort of genuinely sort of impressed and grateful that their team had sort of completed this mammoth task to raise money for them, which it was really good. And straight away, even at that barbecue, that picnic, there were already discussions about doing it again, and I had no hesitation at all of sort of saying, put my name down straight away, because it's something I want to do again, and it's a cause that I will forever want to support. So I will be setting up another Just Giving page, so if you're feeling generous, I'll put a link in the notes in the description. Click through there if you want to help me get onto the 2017 Ride London JDRF team. That'd be much appreciated. And then that's basically it. So afterwards, as I mentioned, I had a longer than expected ride from there back to my hotel. So yeah, so that was basically it. That was my Ride London experience. Sorry for waffling on, but like I say, I enjoy talking about cycling, and there's not many people that are willing to put up with listening to me. So I hope you guys have hung around for a little while and watch more of my vlogs. Just very quickly, just want to show you just behind me. This was my Mavic Cosmic helmet that I got for the ride, and decided to sort of customise it for that event. So we've got sort of doodles of the London skyline going round here to the sort of hilly tree sort of lined Surrey hills. A few sort of personal thoughts and bits and pieces on there as well. But I quite like it. It makes it a bit different from the norm. That's my GoPro mount, which was pointless in the end because the GoPro didn't work. So yeah, thought I'd let you have a look at that. Lovely helmet, by the way, really light and really comfortable. The only problem is this side strap. I can't seem to get it in a position where it doesn't sort of catch the back of my ear a little bit, but good helmet. Yeah, that's it. So hope you enjoyed watching, and catch you on the next one.